I had always noticed little things that made me feel uneasy. Like when my wife would get texts late at night and quickly hide her phone, or when she started spending more time working late at the office. I tried to ignore these feelings, but, deep down, I felt something was off. Then one day, I found a strange receipt tucked away in her purse. It was for a business supply store, and it had her ex-boyfriend's name on it. My heart sank as I realized she had been using my savings to help him. I felt like my whole world was crashing down. How did I miss the signs? I thought I knew my wife, Sarah, completely. Then one day, everything changed. I found a pile of receipts in the garage. They were from a place called Quick Fix, and my heart dropped when I saw they were linked to her ex-boyfriend, Tom. It felt like someone had punched me in the gut. Anger surged through me, mixed with confusion and pain. I'd worked hard for every dollar we saved. The thought of her spending my money on him made me furious. I wanted to yell, to shake her, to demand answers, but I felt frozen. Had my trust in her been a big joke? When I confronted her, Sarah's eyes looked wide and innocent, but I could see the guilt creeping in. "I was just trying to help Tom," she said, her voice shaky. "Help him? What about us?" In that moment, everything I believed about our love shattered. I struggled to breathe, my mind spinning. How could love turn into betrayal so fast? When I faced Sarah with the receipts, the room crackled with tension. I held the proof of her betrayal, and my heart raced. Her face turned pale as she realized I knew her secret. "How could you do this to me?" I demanded, my voice quivering with anger. It felt like a freight train had hit me. I'd trusted her, and she used my hard-earned savings to help her ex's business. "Listen, I was just trying to help Tom," she stammered, her words weak and shaky, but I felt only pain and betrayal. I'd given so much for us, and she tossed it aside like it meant nothing. I knew I'd to be strong. The hurt was suffocating, yet I felt a strange fire ignite inside me. As she tried to explain herself, I realized this was more than just money. It was about trust. "This isn't just about money, Sarah," I said sharply. "It's about trust." My world felt like it was crumbling, but I wouldn't let her lies destroy me. I stood there, my heart pounding like a drum. Sarah's betrayal hit me like a heavy punch. Our relationship was hanging by a thread, and I could feel it fraying with every second. "How could you do this to us?" I wanted to scream, but the words stuck in my throat. Every moment we shared felt ruined. "Do you even care?" I shot at her, my voice thick with anger. I could see it in her eyes. She knew she'd messed up. Trust was shattered, and I could hardly believe a word she said. It was like trying to piece together a broken vase. Each lie she told felt like another crack. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she pleaded, her voice trembling, but I shook my head. "You chose this. You put us in this mess." My hands were clenched, fists tight with frustration. I wanted to find a way back, to remember the good times, but how could I with this weight on my heart? "I want to fix this," she said, desperation in her tone. "But could we really?" Each word felt heavy, like a boulder between us. "Can we even trust each other anymore?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. As I paced, my thoughts raced. We'd to talk, face the truth. This was the start of a tough journey. "We need to decide," I said firmly. "Fight for what's left, or let it go." I watched her face, searching for a sign of hope, but all I saw was fear. I tried to ignore the betrayal, but it crashed over me like a tidal wave. Anger, confusion, and heartbreak twisted inside me. Every day, I battled the pain Sarah had caused. It stung to know that she'd taken my hard-earned money to help her ex. I felt like a complete fool, too blind to see the truth. Trust used to be our stronghold, but now it lay in ruins around me. I replayed every happy moment we shared, only to feel them turn bitter in my mind. It felt like a bad joke. I wanted to scream, wanted to cry, but I was stuck in my own chaos. How could I ever trust her again? In the quiet of our home, despair hung thick in the air. I couldn't escape the memories of her betrayal. When I looked at her, all I saw were the lies. I craved clarity, a way out of this darkness. but a tiny part of me still held on to hope. I wanted to heal and find a way forward, even if it meant facing the ugly truth together. "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. Sarah looked at me, her eyes wide. "I know I messed up, but we can fix this, right?" "Fix it," I shot back. "You used my money. How can I trust you again?" She took a breath, her face falling. I was scared. I thought I could help him, but it was wrong. "I don't want to lose you." "Then we need to be honest," I said, my heart racing. "No more lies." Silence filled the room, heavy and thick. I wanted to believe her, but the weight of betrayal held me back. Rebuilding trust felt impossible. I wanted to fix things with Sarah, but anger bubbled inside me. She'd betrayed me, and I couldn't just sit back. I needed revenge. I thought about the money she'd given to her ex, Tom. My blood boiled. I wanted what was mine. I decided to dig into Sarah's past with Tom. They'd a history and I could use it. I reached out to Tom, pretending to be his friend. "Hey, how's it going?" I asked, casually. I soon learned his business was failing. That was my chance. I could twist the truth and expose Sarah's lies. I told Tom, "Did you know Sarah used my money to help you?" His eyes widened in shock. "What? She never mentioned that." I felt a rush of power. Watching their relationship crack felt good, but guilt crept in. I missed the love we once had. My heart was torn. Anger clashed with longing. But I was in too deep. With each move I made, I slipped further into darkness. Revenge wouldn't fix our broken trust, but I couldn't stop. "This is for me," I whispered as I plotted my next step. How far can someone go to bend the truth? When I found out my wife, Sarah, had been using my hard-earned savings to help her ex, Tom, I felt a fire of anger flare inside me. I couldn't just sit back and let this happen. I needed to fight back. I called Tom, pretending to be his buddy. "Hey man, did you know Sarah's up to something?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. I wanted him to think she was planning something sneaky against him. It felt wrong, but I was desperate to reclaim what was mine. I started spinning lies about Sarah. "She still has feelings for you, you know," I said, watching as doubt crept into his eyes. I could see how easily I was pulling his strings. Tom began to believe me, and I felt a rush of power as their relationship began to crack. It was thrilling, but I also felt a twinge of guilt. I was playing with fire. As I twisted the truth, I realized this game had bigger consequences than I expected. I wanted revenge, but I was getting tangled in my own lies. The hurt I caused wasn't just on Sarah. It was tearing me apart too. I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, using deceit to mask my pain. "Why would you do this to me?" Sarah shouted one evening, her eyes wide with betrayal. I wanted to scream back, to unleash the hurt she caused me, but instead, I just stood there, silent. As I schemed my next move, the idea of tricking Tom into a meeting sparked in my mind. It was the perfect plan. I'd to confront him about the chaos he caused. This time, I wanted him to see he wasn't just hurting me. He was hurting Sarah too. I'd to choose my words carefully so he'd actually listen. I decided to act friendly, like I'd no idea about his connection to Sarah. I called him up and suggested we grab coffee to chat about his business. I could hear him hesitating, but he eventually said yes. My heart raced. This was my chance. To make it work, I focused on my game plan. I'd start by asking about his problems, then I'd drop the bomb about Sarah. I wanted to see his face when the truth hit him. Would he deny it? Would he explode in anger? I didn't know, but I felt powerful. The cafe was a busy spot, ensuring no one would interrupt us. I pictured it. Tom across from me, his confidence fading as I laid it all out. The tension in the air would be thick. This meeting would change everything. I just had to stick to my plan and pull it off flawlessly. When the day came, I arrived early, fidgeting with my coffee cup. Tom walked in, looking cool and collected. "Hey, thanks for meeting," he said, flashing a smile. But I could see the nervousness in his eyes. "Of course," I replied, keeping my tone light. "So, how's business?" He started talking about his challenges, and I nodded, pretending to care. Then, I took a deep breath. You know, I heard something interesting lately, about you and Sarah. His face went pale. What do you mean? I leaned in, my voice low. You're not just hurting me, Tom. You're hurting her too. You think she doesn't know? His bravado crumbled. That's not true. I didn't mean to. I cut him off. Save it. This isn't about excuses. It's about the truth. He opened his mouth, speechless. I watched the realization sink in, the guilt washing over his face. I felt a rush of satisfaction. I leaned closer, my voice sharp. I know you've been using my wife to save your failing business. His eyes widened, and I could tell I hit a nerve. The shock on his face was sweet revenge for the betrayal I'd discovered. He stuttered, trying to come up with excuses, but I wasn't letting him off the hook. You've played with her feelings, and I won't let you get away with it. Anger surged through me. I was taking back control from the mess he'd created. Tom's confidence cracked. I could see fear creeping into his eyes. This wasn't a friendly chat anymore. I was fighting for my life, my money, and my pride. In that noisy cafe, I felt like I was finally standing up for myself. He needed to know that I was done being his pawn in this game of lies. You think you can just use her and walk away? I pressed on, my voice steady. He looked trapped, and I felt a rush of power. This was my moment, and I wasn't backing down. The tension exploded between us, and I knew I had him right where I wanted him. Love used to fill our home, but now it felt like a storm was brewing inside. Words went unsaid, and feelings were tangled. Trust was a shadow that loomed over everything. I could still feel the sting of Sarah's betrayal, a wound that throbbed each day. What used to be a cozy nest now felt like a war zone. Every time we talked, it was like stepping on broken glass. I wanted to know what was going on in her head, to ask her why she did it. But fear held me back. I was scared that if I pushed too hard, she'd pull away even more. The boundaries that felt safe were now like tall walls, blocking us from each other. I saw Sarah struggling too, battling her own demons, but I'd no idea how to reach her. Lies hung heavy between us, and I could tell she felt it too. How could we ever fix this? I wanted to believe in forgiveness, but anger simmered just below the surface. Could we really rebuild what was broken? The tension crackled in the air like electricity. We both knew that healing wouldn't be easy. It required honesty, vulnerability, and time. But deep down, I craved the love we once had. I wanted to believe we could escape this darkness. But first, we'd to face the truth together. Only then could we start the hard journey of piecing our relationship back together. Why did you do it, Sarah? I finally demanded one evening, my voice shaky but firm. She looked at me, her eyes wide with hurt. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered, but her words felt hollow. Didn't mean to? I shot back, frustration bubbling over. You made a choice! You let me down! Her face fell, and silence stretched between us like a chasm. I'm sorry, she said, but it sounded weak. Sorry isn't enough, I replied, my heart racing. The rain hammered against the windows, making the room feel cold and tense. It was the night of reckoning, and my heart raced in my chest. I'd the evidence, proof of all the lies Sarah had spun. Now it was time to confront her. I wanted her to see the hurt she caused, to really understand. When Sarah walked in, her eyes went wide. Tom was on the couch, and the air buzzed with unspoken words. Confusion and fear danced in her gaze. I took a deep breath and laid it all out. I showed her the receipts, the texts, the emails, each one a sharp reminder of her betrayal. Look at what you've done, I said, my voice steady yet filled with pain. Anger bubbled inside me as I watched her face drain of color. I needed her to see Tom for who he truly was, to feel the weight of her lies. As the truth hit her, tears welled in her eyes. I felt a rush of clarity. This was it. The end of our twisted game. Could we ever rebuild? I didn't know, but the storm outside matched the turmoil within us. Sarah, it's over, I said, my voice firm. You can't keep lying. She shook her head, but I pressed on. You need to face this. Look around. This is your reality now. The tension filled the room as she took a shaky step back. I could see her, trying to process everything, trying to find a way out. But there was no escape from the truth. Tom was never what you thought, I shouted, my words cutting through the chaos. Lies can tangle up lives fast, and I was stuck in the mess. The truth hit me like a storm cloud, darkening my once happy days. Trust shattered when I learned about Sarah's betrayal. It felt like a heavy weight, pressing down hard. I couldn't believe my savings had been tossed into her ex's failing business. Every receipt I found felt like a knife, slicing deeper into my heart. As I started to piece things together, I saw how deep their secrets ran. Sarah had turned love into a game where I was just a piece on her board. I'd thought we were close, but now it felt fake. Love turned into anger and confusion, and I didn't know what to believe anymore. The fallout was everywhere. I watched as Sarah clung to her past with Tom, leaving me in the dark, questioning everything. I felt like a tool in a game I never wanted to play. Every moment reminded me of her choices, and I was desperate to find some answers. What crushed me most was knowing our love was spoiled by her lies. I missed the days when trust was easy and our future looked bright. Now, I faced a hard truth, and it weighed heavy on my heart. I knew I'd to do something, but the pain felt suffocating. Why, Sarah? Why would you do this? I demanded, my voice shaky. She turned away, avoiding my eyes. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she said, her voice low. Not supposed to be. You lied to me, I shouted, anger boiling inside me. Sarah finally faced me, her expression a mix of regret and defiance. I did what I'd to do. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. You broke us. I stormed out, the door slamming behind me. I couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah and Tom had a hidden story. As I dug into their past, I found things that made my stomach churn. Sarah had scars from her past that shaped her choices. I could see how her trust in Tom twisted their relationship. Each new detail felt like a punch, revealing the betrayal that had seeped into our lives. Sarah was always drawn to Tom. It was like a magnet, but it wasn't just love. He played with her feelings. I realized that when she backed his business, it was more than money. It was about needing his approval. She was stuck, trying to fix her past, but hurting our present. The deeper I went, the more I saw their history was a mess of problems. They both needed healing, but their toxic relationship blocked them. I noticed how hard Sarah fought to forgive, and I wondered if trust could ever be rebuilt between them. With every discovery, anger and sadness swirled inside me. I wanted to confront Sarah, to lay everything out, but I hesitated. Was that the right move? Would it help us heal, or just hurt more? The weight of their past hung over us, threatening to crush any chance of a future together. Why did you let him control you? I wanted to ask her. But instead, I stayed silent, the tension building like a coiled spring. Each moment felt heavy with unspoken truths, and I knew I couldn't ignore it for much longer. As I dug deeper into Sarah and Tom's relationship, I saw the ugly truth unfold. Tom wasn't just a boyfriend, he was a master manipulator. He twisted Sarah's feelings and pulled her strings like a puppet. This made it hard for me to trust her, and I felt like I was caught in a web of lies and confusion. The hurt from this betrayal was a heavy weight on my chest, and I couldn't figure out how to move forward. I watched as Tom took advantage of Sarah's insecurities. He convinced her to give him money, making it seem like a normal thing to do. But it was more than just a bad choice. It was cruel emotional abuse that made her feel worthless. I started to focus on my own healing. I'd to find ways to cope with the anger and sadness that bubbled up inside me. Rebuilding trust felt like climbing a mountain. But I knew we'd to face the truth. Sarah needed to see her part in this mess, just like I'd to face my feelings of betrayal. I began a journey of self-discovery, searching for strength and clarity. I wanted to heal not just for myself, but to help Sarah break free from Tom's toxic grip. While digging through old photos and messages, I felt the weight of Sarah's betrayal hit me hard. Each picture showed moments I thought were ours. But now, They felt ruined. I found texts where she asked Tom for help with money. This was more than asking for advice. It was an emotional affair hidden behind lies. My heart sank as I realized how deep her betrayal really went. Anger bubbled up inside me. How could she do this? I wanted to scream, to shake her and make her feel the hurt she caused me. Every message I read felt like a new stab in my gut. I started to piece together their timeline. Sarah wasn't just helping Tom with money. She was being there for him emotionally too. She was still tied to him in ways I never saw coming. It was like peeling layers off a rotten onion, each layer revealing more deceit. I thought about how to confront her. I wanted justice for my lost money, and to show her lies for what they were. I felt desperate to take back my life, but a part of me hesitated. I still loved her, even if my trust was shattered. But I couldn't ignore the truth. I had to dig deeper, to find the whole story no matter how painful. "Sarah, we need to talk," I finally said, my voice tight. She looked up, surprise flashing in, her eyes. "I know about Tom." Her face paled. "What do you mean?" "Don't play dumb." "I found your texts," I shot back, anger spilling out. "You've been lying to me." Her silence screamed louder than words. I could see the panic in her eyes, and it fueled my fire. I was ready for a fight. "How could you do this?" I pressed, demanding answers. The moment I saw the stack of emails, a chill shot through me. Each message felt like a nail in the coffin of trust. My heart pounded as I scanned the words, all pointing to Sarah's betrayal. I realized I'd been caught in her web of emotional tricks, and the signs were everywhere. These emails laid bare her lies, showing how she'd taken my savings and sent them to her ex's crumbling business. I felt sick. How could she do this? It wasn't just about money. It was about the hurt left behind from her past. Each email cut deeper, tearing apart the life we'd built. "I can't believe you do this," I whispered, my hands shaking. I needed to confront her, but I also wanted to help her heal from the pain Tom had caused. But could we really move past this? As I went through the emails, clarity struck me. I needed to reveal the truth, not just for me, but for Sarah too. She'd to face what she'd done. It was time to confront the chaos that had invaded our lives. Took a deep breath, ready to face her. "Sarah, we need to talk. Now." My voice was steady, but inside, I was a storm. This was it, the moment everything would change. As I stood there, my heart pounding and fists tight, a storm raged outside, matching the chaos inside me. I'd just told Sarah the truth about Tom, and it felt like I'd thrown a bomb into the room. The air was heavy with tension, and I could see her face go from confusion to pure horror as the reality of her betrayal hit her hard. Emotions swirled around us like the storm outside. Part of me felt victorious, but another part felt guilty. I wanted her to understand the mess she'd made. She'd trusted Tom, thinking he cared about her, but he was just using her. It made me want to yell, to shake her awake from her fantasy. "How could you trust him?" I shouted, frustration bubbling over. Tears filled her eyes, and I could see regret written all over her face. It hurt to watch, but deep down, I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. I'd fought hard for my savings, but this was about more than money. It was about trust and love, all ruined by her choices. As the rain pounded against the windows, I realized I'd unleashed something big. We were caught in a storm, not just outside, but inside our hearts too. This moment was a turning point, leaving marks that might never fade. Could we fix this, or was it really over for us? The storm outside howled, but inside a different kind of storm raged in Sarah. The truth hit her hard, like raindrops slamming against the glass. I watched her face drain of color, guilt written all over it. She'd used my savings to help Tom, and now she faced the fallout. My heart twisted for her, but the sting of betrayal still lingered. "Why did I do this?" she murmured, tears streaming down her cheeks. It was clear she finally understood her mistakes. Trust was shattered between us, and fixing it would be tough. She'd to confront her past and face the pain she caused. The love she thought was real now felt like a ghost. As the storm raged on, she met my eyes, searching for answers. Can we fix this? Her voice shook, hope and despair tangled together. Love had become complicated, not just between us, but also within her. The weight of her guilt was heavy, yet determination sparked in her eyes. She wanted to make things right and learn from this mess. We both had to face the consequences of our choices. Maybe this was a chance for a fresh start, a moment for love to grow back, stronger, if we both committed to the fight ahead. The rain poured harder, echoing the chaos in our hearts. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady. "We can try, but it won't be easy." Her nod was small, but it carried a promise. We were in this together, ready to face whatever came next. Pain wrapped around me like a thick fog. Each breath reminded me of the truth I'd discovered. Sarah had betrayed me, and it hurt more than I could say. I never thought I'd carry these emotional scars. Our marriage felt like it was crumbling. I wanted to ignore my feelings, but I couldn't. Trust seemed impossible to rebuild. "Why, Sarah?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger and sadness. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen," she cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. Watching her struggle with guilt made my heart ache. Navigating this hurt became my new normal. I needed answers, but they were hard to find. Each moment felt heavy, like we were stuck in a storm with no way out. How could we move on after this? The challenges were huge. I had to be strong. "We need to talk about this," I said firmly. "We can't pretend it didn't happen." Sarah nodded, looking defeated. "I know. I don't know how to fix this." Days went by. The truth hurt, but I saw a glimmer of hope. Maybe honesty could lead us to healing. It was a tough road, but I believed we could grow from this pain. "We're both broken," I told her, "but we can try to rebuild." "Together?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, together," I replied. "But we've to face the pain head on. It wouldn't be easy, but we'd to take the first step." The darkness loomed, but I hoped we could find the light again. Healing after betrayal is like navigating a dark maze. I never thought I'd find myself here, trying to make sense of Sarah's lies. Trust. It feels shattered, like glass all around me. Every day is a battle to piece together what I lost. Faith in her. Faith in love. I've to be strong and remind myself that forgiving her is really about me finding my own way out of this nightmare. Talking to my friends became my lifeline. "You're not alone," they said, and it helped. I started sharing my feelings, and bit by bit, the weight on my shoulders lifted. Then came relationship therapy. Sitting across from a stranger, I faced the raw truth of my emotions. "What do you need?" they asked. I didn't have an answer, but I knew I'd to figure it out. But the hurt still comes in waves. I felt it crash over me when I saw her name pop up on my phone. I set boundaries. I needed space. "I can't talk to you right now, Sarah," I told her one day, my voice steady, but my heart racing. I stepped back, and my friends and family were there, holding me up. They listened to my rants and reminded me that I'm worth more than this pain. Some days it feels like I'm back at the start, staring at the same broken pieces. But I keep pushing forward. Healing isn't a straight path. It twists and turns. I'm learning to trust myself again, picking up the pieces of my life one by one. Through this heartbreak, I know I'll come out stronger, ready to discover who I'm and what I truly deserve. Revenge felt good at first, like I was finally in charge. I wanted Sarah to feel the hurt she caused me. But as I planned my payback, I didn't see the damage it would do to me. It was like throwing a stone into a pond. My little revenge made big waves, affecting everything around me. In the heat of the moment, I felt like a king. I was plotting against Sarah and Tom, convinced I was winning. But with every little victory, my happiness started to slip away. I watched Sarah cry, and it twisted my stomach. I wanted her to suffer, but I never thought I'd feel her pain so deeply. When everything came crashing down, I saw the truth. My revenge didn't just hurt Sarah, it hurt me too. I was stuck in a loop of anger and sadness. The satisfaction I wanted turned into a big empty hole inside me. The peace I thought revenge would give me only brought more mess and confusion. Instead of healing my wounds, revenge made them worse. I lost sight of who I was, drowning in bitterness. I realized that revenge isn't a fix. It's a poison that creeps into your life and leaves you feeling lost. I'd to admit it. The best way to heal is to let go, not to strike back. As I stood in the living room, the storm outside matched the chaos in my heart. I knew finding common ground with Sarah was the only way to move forward. Our history was a tangled mess of hurt, but deep down, we both wanted the same things. A loving relationship where trust could thrive. I took a deep breath and walked over to her. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady. Her eyes narrowed, but I pressed on. "I'm hurting, and I know you're too. We can't keep going like this." She crossed her arms, defensive. "What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry?" Her tone dripped with sarcasm. "No, I want you to listen," I shot back. "We both messed up. I just want us to be honest with each other." As we argued, the tension crackled like the lightning outside. "You always twist things around," she spat, frustration spilling over. "It's like you don't even see how I feel." "Then help me understand," I pleaded, the storm rising inside me. "We need to talk about what went wrong, not just keep throwing blame around." Suddenly, she softened. "I just wanted to feel valued, not manipulated." Her voice cracked, revealing a hint of vulnerability. I felt something shift. "I get that," I admitted. "But holding on to resentment isn't helping us. Can we try to fix this together?" The room fell silent. I could see the walls we built around ourselves starting to crumble. "Fine," she said, her tone less sharp. "But it's going to take more than just words." "Let's start with honesty," I suggested, a spark of hope igniting in my chest. "We can face things together, even if it's hard." As the storm outside began to fade, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe we could break free from the darkness that had consumed us. Finding common ground was just the beginning. A tragic love story unfolded between Sarah and me, and it was like a beautiful dream that quickly turned into a scary nightmare. I believed our love was unbreakable, but then everything fell apart. Sarah had been secretly using my savings to help her ex. My heart sank. How could she do this to me? I felt like I was punched in the gut. "Why did you betray me, Sarah?" I shouted, my voice shaking with anger. "I was trying to help," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "But this wasn't just about money, it was about trust." "Help? You broke my trust," I yelled back. I wanted to fix things, but how could I when everything felt shattered? I was lost. I needed to figure things out. "I can't believe you do this," I whispered, feeling the weight of our problems. We both had to face what happened. I wanted to help her heal, but could I really forgive her? The thought of rebuilding our love felt impossible. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice small. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I can't just forget." Days turned into weeks, and the pain was still there. I tried to find ways to cope, but the confusion lingered. "We need to talk about this," I said one evening, my heart heavy. "I know I messed up," Sarah replied, looking down. "But I need you to trust me again." "Trust is earned," I snapped. "You need to show me you're serious." We faced a long road ahead, filled with questions and doubts. Could our love survive this betrayal? Or was it doomed to fade away? Only time would tell. The storm had passed, but the chaos of our fight hung in the air like a dark cloud. Sarah and I stood there, both hurt and unsure. I'd played my games, and now we were left with the mess. Revenge hadn't fixed anything, it only made things worse. We needed to find a way to move forward together. "Can we even trust each other anymore?" Sarah asked, her voice shaky. "I messed up." "I know that," I said, looking her straight in the eyes. "But we've to try." Each of us had to own up to what we did. It felt like walking on thin ice, but we were determined. We started talking, really talking, about what scared us, what hurt us. It was tough, but every conversation was like a tiny bridge back to each other. Let's start fresh, I suggested one day. Every day is a new chance. She nodded, a hint of hope in her eyes. We set goals together, things that mattered to us, not the past. Cooking dinner, watching movies, sharing jokes. Slowly, laughter began to creep back in, like sunlight through the clouds. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Old wounds would flare up, bringing pain and doubt. "I thought we were over this," Sarah shouted one night, frustration boiling over. "We are, but we've to talk about it," I shot back, feeling the heat rise in my chest. We learned to face those moments together, turning anger into understanding. Little by little, the fog began to lift. I could see glimpses of the love we once had, and it sparked a fire of hope inside me. "Let's rewrite our story," I said, determination in my voice. One step at a time, we were moving forward, fighting for each other, ready to face whatever came next.